The skies over Mumbai were a bruised shade of grey that morning, promising rain but holding it in like a threat. Riya Sharma clutched her tote bag, her laptop weighing heavily on her shoulder, as she darted through the chaotic maze of Dadar station. She was already 5 minutes late, thanks to a broken elevator in her building and a delayed cab that reeked of wet leather and lost time. The station was its usual cacophony: hawkers shouting, trains screeching, and people moving like water through a cracked pipe. Her phone buzzed with a message from her manager.
Clients coming in early. Be on time.
As if she needed more pressure. She sprinted toward platform 5, heart thudding like a drum against her ribs. Her foot hit a shallow puddle and cold water splashed up her legs. The 8:12 fast local to Churchgate was just pulling away. She reached the edge breathlessly, eyes wide with frustration, rain now dripping from her hairline down her neck. A man next to her muttered,
"Tough luck,"
shaking his head, and walked away. She didn't respond. Instead, she dropped onto the rusty iron bench, elbows on knees, breathing hard. In that moment, something inside her felt frayed, like she wasn't just missing a train, but some unseeable opportunity that had slipped through her fingers. The rain began in earnest then, sharp, persistent droplets tapping against the tin roof above. Riya stared blankly at the tracks, until the sound of a child laughing caught her attention. A little girl was skipping through puddles in pink school shoes, pulling her reluctant mother along. Riya smiled faintly. Life moved on even when yours felt paused. 10 minutes passed. When the next train arrived, she stepped into the ladies' coach, only to find it more crowded than usual. She squeezed into a corner near the door, gripping the overhead handle. That's when she saw him. Navy blue jacket, paperback in hand. He was leaning against the opposite pole, reading intently even amid the crowd. His face had the kind of calm rarely seen in this city, unbothered, almost out of place. The train jolted forward, and she stumbled slightly. The man looked up, reached out instinctively, steadying her with one hand before pulling back.
"You all right?"
He asked, voice calm, a trace of amusement in his eyes. She nodded, embarrassed.
"Yeah. Just rough morning."
He smiled.
"Mumbai mornings usually are."
She chuckled lightly and turned away, feeling unexpectedly warm in the cold air. She didn't know his name, didn't think to ask. But something about that moment stuck with her, like déjà vu meeting a stranger who felt oddly familiar. As the train rattled toward its next stop, Riya stared out the window, a strange thought crossing her mind. What if the train I missed was the right one after all? It started with coincidence, or so Riya believed. The following Monday she saw him again. Same time, same coach. This time he wasn't reading. He was standing near the window, earbuds in, head slightly bobbing to music. Their eyes met briefly, and he gave her a polite nod, the kind shared by familiar strangers. She nodded back, but inside, her heart beat just a bit faster. Kept happening. Every morning that week, they ended up in the same train, same section. By Thursday, she was actively looking for him, though she'd never admit it to herself. He had that quiet aura, unassuming, observant. While others shoved for space, complained about delays, or scrolled endlessly through their phones, he simply stood, present. One morning, the train halted unexpectedly between stations. A mechanical failure, they announced. The crowd groaned, cursed. It was hot and stuffy, bodies pressed together, and the fans barely worked.
"Looks like we're stuck."
"Great. Just what I needed today."
She muttered, wiping sweat off her brow with a tissue that was already damp.
"Arjun,"
he said, offering his hand. She hesitated for half a second, then shook it.
"Riya."
For the next 20 minutes they talked. Not about work, not yet. It started with the train, how unreliable the service had become, and spiraled into shared frustrations, favorite street food, and childhood memories of traveling with parents. She learned he was from Pune originally, that he used to sketch before numbers took over his life. He learned she'd dreamed of designing museums, not office buildings. There was something refreshing about talking to someone with no agenda, no performance. No flirting either. Just honesty wrapped in the safety of transit time. That conversation became routine. Each day their exchanges grew. They talked about books and strange dreams, about regrets they didn't know they carried. Ria started waking up 5 minutes earlier to catch that exact train. Arjun started arriving earlier too. Neither mentioned it. But they both knew. Then one morning he wasn't there. Ria boarded the train, eyes scanning each compartment. Nothing. Maybe he was running late. Maybe he took a different train. She checked again the next day and the next. By the fourth day, the space beside her where he usually stood felt hollow. She wanted to ask someone, but who? She didn't even know his last name, no phone number, not even a social media handle. Just Arjun from the 822. It bothered her more than she expected. The realization caught her off guard. Not just the loss of a presence, but the way routine had disguised something meaningful. She hadn't known she was building a connection until it was gone. That night, while cleaning out her tote, she found a folded receipt from their last shared ride. She'd scribbled something on the back during their conversation. You either design your life or let it be designed for you. He had nodded at the quote, said it reminded him of something his father once said. That memory now felt heavier. Ria lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if some people enter your life only to leave without warning. Not because they want to, but because they're meant to show you something briefly. And then vanish. But fate, she would soon learn, doesn't vanish. Wait. 3 months had passed. Ria had almost convinced herself that Arjun was just a fleeting moment. A city ghost like the millions she passed every day. She poured herself into work, sketching through nights, managing deadlines with the quiet fury of someone trying not to feel. Then came the Bengaluru trip. It wasn't her idea. Her manager insisted. Client meetings, site visits, a presentation on a green architecture model. She wasn't thrilled. Bengaluru reminded her of a college heartbreak. The city had always felt unfinished to her, like it was trying too hard to be something else. On her second day there, after a draining client meeting and a missed lunch, she ducked into a cafe near her hotel. It was small, wooden interiors, yellow lighting, and the smell of roasted beans that felt like an embrace. She ordered a black coffee and turned toward the only empty seat in the corner. And then she froze. There he was, Arjun. Back to her. Same navy blue jacket. Sapiens in hand. His fingers absent-mindedly traced the edge of the page, the way she remembered. Time pause. Her breath hitched. She thought about turning around. Maybe he wouldn't remember her. Maybe he'd moved on. Maybe this would ruin the quiet poetry of their story. But before she could move, he looked up. His eyes met hers. Recognition flashed, followed by disbelief, and then smile.
Ria.
She laughed, nervous.
What are you doing here?
I could ask you the same.
He replied, standing up awkwardly, unsure if he should hug her or just wave. He settled for an awkward half handshake, half hug. The kind you give someone who once felt like a daily habit. They sat down. First, it was all the expected lines.
New project? Yeah. You moved to Bengaluru?
Yeah, got an offer I couldn't refuse.
But soon the surface broke. He told her about the sudden job switch, the anxiety of change, and how he had meant to reach out.
I didn't want to just vanish. But I wasn't sure you'd care.
He admitted, looking down.
I waited for you. Days.
She said quietly.
I didn't know how to find you.
Their coffee went cold as conversation turned from cautious to raw. He shared how isolated he'd felt after the move. She talked about the loneliness of her achievements. Promotions that didn't mean anything when there was no one to share the good news with. They moved from the cafe to a walk down Church Street. The city's drizzle didn't bother them. The energy between them had changed. Warmer, heavier.
Do you believe in timing?
She asked as they passed a bookstore.
I think timing's just fate in disguise.
He replied, his voice lower now, more certain. Before they parted, he asked for her number this time. She saved his contact under
Arjun, 822.
And they both laughed. Later that night, back in her hotel room, Ria stood at the window watching the rain. She thought about all the things that had to go wrong for them to meet again. Missed trains, transfers, inconvenient trips. And yet here they were. Sometimes detours weren't mistakes. They were the only roads that led you exactly where you were meant to be. In the weeks after Bengaluru, Ria and Arjun slipped into something that resembled a relationship. But not quite. It was late-night texts, early morning voice notes, weekend calls that stretched into hours. They weren't labeling it. They didn't need to. But reality was always lurking. He was in Bengaluru, building a new life. She was in Mumbai, climbing a ladder she wasn't sure she wanted. The excitement of their reunion slowly gave way to the quiet, growing strain of distance. Ria's birthday fell on a Tuesday. Arjun promised he'd call at midnight. She stayed up, phone charged, her apartment quiet. At 12:17, she got a message.
Sorry, stuck in a last-minute call with the US team. We'll call in a bit.
He called at 1 a.m. She didn't pick up. The next morning he apologized. She said it was okay. But it wasn't. 2 months later, Arjun told her about a possible transfer to Mumbai. Same company, different role.
It's not ideal.
He admitted.
But we'd be in the same city again.
Her heart raced.
That's amazing. Are you taking it?
He hesitated.
Still thinking. It's less pay, and the team's not great. But yeah, maybe.
That maybe echoed in her head for days. Later, during a particularly bad work week, she snapped on a call.
I would have taken it.
She said.
Thank you. If it were you on this end.
I know.
He replied.
But I'm not you, Ria. I don't move without a net.
Silence. Long and painful. They had planned to spend Diwali together. Arjun had booked his flight. She had taken Friday off. Everything was in place. 2 days before the trip, Arjun called.
My managers put me on the Singapore project. I leave Friday. I'm sorry, Ria. This is huge for me.
She didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then calmly.
You always choose work.
It's how I survive.
No. It's how you escape.
That was their last real conversation. No fight. No closure. Just silence stretching longer each day until the calls stopped, the texts dwindled, and eventually, the inevitable became real. Ria buried herself in work. She was promoted, then relocated to a newer office with a better view. Her friends noticed she smiled less. Her mother said she looked tired. She blamed it on deadlines. She thought of him often, usually late at night, when she'd see his name in her contacts and hover over the call button. But she never pressed it.
I moved on without you, but something felt untrue. Your memories crept in with the silent night. Your name stayed on my lips in every whispered light.
Some endings aren't loud. They don't come with slamming doors or broken dishes. Sometimes love just dissolves, slowly, invisibly, until one day you look around and realize the version of you that belonged to that person is gone. But fate, as always, wasn't finished. It had been nearly 2 years since their last conversation. The silence between Ria and Arjun had hardened into distance, and eventually into memory. Life had moved on for both of them. Ria had taken up a leadership role at her firm. She traveled more, spoke at conferences, even got featured in an architecture magazine. She smiled in photos. She was doing well on paper. But some nights, when the city quieted and her phone sat idle beside her bed, she'd wonder where he was. If he still read books on the train. If he'd stopped checking her Instagram stories. It was a destination wedding in Delhi. Ria wasn't particularly close to the bride, just a college friend, but she needed the break. She wore a deep maroon sari and gold jumkas that her mother had gifted her for someday special. The ceremony was grand, loud, chaotic in that uniquely Indian way. Drums beating, photographers yelling instructions, laughter echoing across the decorated lawn. As the rituals began, Ria stepped out to take a breath. Her heels clicked on the marble steps as she walked toward the quieter side of the venue, near the parking lot. She was texting her driver when a voice behind her said softly,
"Still running away from loud crowds?"
She froze. That voice. He turned.
Arjun.
He was dressed in a dark blue kurta, a little more filled out than she remembered. His hair was shorter. He wore glasses now. But the calm in his eyes, that hadn't changed. She blinked.
What are you? How are you?
He grinned.
"My friend's getting married. Yours too, apparently."
They both laughed, nervously, cautiously, like people stepping onto thin ice. Then came the quiet.
"You look, well,"
he said.
So do you.
She replied.
Glasses suit you.
He smiled.
"Yeah, I'm getting old."
There was a pause. She could feel the 1,000 unsaid things rising between them, like ghosts summoned by proximity. They drifted away from the venue, onto a dimly lit garden path behind the banquet hall. Strings of fairy lights hung from trees, glowing gently in the night breeze.
I thought about calling you.
She said finally.
So many times.
"Me too."
He admitted.
"But after a while, I figured, maybe you were better off without the confusion."
Ria looked down at her heels.
Maybe. But I still missed you.
That hit like a soft bullet.
"I missed you too,"
he said.
"more than I wanted to."
They stopped walking. She turned to face him.
Do you ever wonder if we gave up too easily?
He sighed.
"I used to. Then I told myself it wasn't about giving up. Maybe we just weren't ready."
And now?
"I don't know. But I'm here. And you're here. And it doesn't feel like nothing."
The music from the wedding reached them faintly. Slow Hindi song. The kind that plays when two characters reunite in a film. But this wasn't a film. This was Messier. Real.
जिंदगी की भीड़ में खो गया था तू कहीं, तेरे बिना भी चल पड़ा पर अधूरा था मैं यहीं, तेरी यादें आई चुपके भीगी रातों में, तेरा नाम लबों पे था हर दुआओं में। जिंदगी की भीड़ में खो गया था तू कहीं, तेरे बिना भी चल पड़ा पर अधूरा था मैं।
Still in that moment, under the fairy lights and quiet night, they stood in the kind of silence that said more than words ever could. They exchanged numbers again, not out of politeness but intention. No promises, no declarations, just a quiet understanding that maybe, just maybe, their story wasn't finished. As they parted, Ria smiled.
Funny how life keeps crossing our paths.
Arjun turned, that same calm in his eyes.
Or maybe fate just takes its time.
And this time, neither of them walked away too quickly.
तेरी यादें आई चुपके भीगी रातों में, तेरा नाम लबों पे था हर दुआओं में, फिर भी तू मेरे साथ रहा, हर खामोशी में आवाज बना, बिछड़ के भी तू ना दूर हुआ, फासलों में भी मेरा आसमां, फिर भी तू मेरे साथ रहा, हर खामोशी में आवाज बना, बिछड़ के भी तू ना दूर हुआ, फासलों में भी मेरा आसमां, फिर भी तू।